She walked into one of the strictest legal systems on the planet, faced the possibility of 15 years behind bars, and walked out paying $13. 13. Most people in that situation go home, lock the door, and never speak of it again. She went to the embassy, and what she allegedly did outside those gates, on a public street, in broad daylight, triggered a criminal case in an entirely different country, filed by one of the most powerful police forces in the world. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation. This is a documented, real, ongoing legal case, unfolding right now, across 2 continents, 2 governments, and 2 separate justice systems. And tonight, Shadow Case Files is breaking it all down. Every single detail. Before we go any further, drop a comment right now and tell us, where in the world are you watching this from? And what time is it over there right now? We have viewers tuning in from every corner of the globe, and we want to know where you are watching from tonight. Drop in the comments. We read every single one. Now, let's get into it. Yes, I got arrested in Bali for filming. It is about time they came to the embassy so they could watch it in person. Those 2 audio clips, those 2 sentences, that is where this entire story begins and ends. Because the woman who said those words did not say them from a place of regret. She said them like a challenge. And the legal system, in not 1 but 2 countries, accepted that challenge. Welcome to Shadow Case Files. If you're new here, this channel exists for one reason: to take real, documented, verified legal cases and break them down in a way that everyone can understand. Just the facts, the law, and the truth. And today's case is all 3 in extraordinary supply. This is the story of Tia Billinger, known to the world by a different name entirely. A 26-year-old British content creator who in the span of just 11 days managed to get arrested in Bali, deported from Indonesia, banned from an entire country for a decade, and then charged with a criminal offense in the United Kingdom. 11 days. Let that sink in for a moment. And here is what makes this case unlike almost anything we have covered on this channel before. She documented all of it. Every arrest, every interrogation, every court appearance, every single moment, filmed, posted, and shared with the world in real time. Which means the evidence in this case is not hidden in police files or buried in court archives. It is sitting on the internet, time-stamped, publicly available, and we're going to walk through every piece of it tonight. So get comfortable, because this story does not move in a straight line. It zigzags across continents, bounces between legal systems, and lands in a place that nobody, not even the sharpest legal minds watching this case, fully predicted. Let us start from the very beginning. To understand this case, to truly understand why it unfolded the way it did, you first need to understand the person at the center of it. Her name is Tia Billinger. She is 26 years old. She was born and raised in Dracut, a small town in Derbyshire, England. To most of the world, she goes by a stage name, a persona she built from the ground up, a name that by the end of 2025 had become one of the most searched names on the entire internet. She is a British adult content creator. And before you make any assumptions about what that means for this story, stay with us. Because this case is not really about the content she creates. It is about what happens when someone who built their entire identity around defying limits walks into a country that has zero tolerance for exactly that. By her own account, and by multiple verified media reports, she has accumulated a reported net worth of approximately £3 million. £3 million, built entirely through online content creation. She travels internationally. She documents everything. And she has developed what can only be described as an extraordinary, some would say reckless, talent for walking straight into controversy and filming it on the way in. How does she describe herself? In her own words, and this is a direct quote pulled from her publicly posted content. I'm the girl that rage baits. Not an apology, not a warning label, a mission statement. And it is important that you hold on to that phrase, rage baits, because it will become the most legally significant 2 words in this entire case by the time we reach the London chapter of this story. Now, let's talk about what she actually did. Because in November of 2025, Tia Billinger boarded a flight to Southeast Asia, Bali, Indonesia. And from the moment she landed, the clock was ticking. If you have never been to Bali or to Indonesia more broadly, there is something fundamental you need to understand about this country before this story makes any sense at all. Indonesia is not a country where moral and social laws exist loosely in the background. They are front and center. They are enforced. And they carry consequences that most Western travelers are completely unprepared for. Indonesia's anti-pornography legislation, formally enacted and actively enforced, carries prison sentences of up to 15 years for conviction. 15 years. In an Indonesian prison. That is not a fine. That is not a deportation. That is not a warning. That is the potential end of your life, as you knew it. And Tia Billinger flew into that country with a plan. A very specific, very public, very documented plan. She spent approximately $1,200, roughly 950 British pounds, purchasing a truck. A second-hand truck. She had it repainted entirely in blue. And she had a name printed on the side of it in large, visible lettering. 4 words. We will not repeat those 4 words in full on this channel in the interest of keeping this content accessible to all audiences, but the name made absolutely clear what the vehicle was intended to be used for. She called it the Bang Bus. Her plan, as she stated publicly and on camera before arriving, was to drive that truck through the streets of Bali, make content, and upload it to her subscription platform. She even timed the trip deliberately. She targeted what Australians call Schoolies Week, an annual tradition where young Australian graduates, 18 years old and above, adults, travel to Bali to celebrate finishing secondary school. It is a week known for its party atmosphere, its large crowds of young people, and its international media attention. She announced her arrival publicly. She posted about it. She filmed herself arriving, and the response from the local Balinese community was immediate. They noticed, and they were not pleased. It did not take long. On the 5th of December, 2025, less than 2 weeks after her arrival in Bali, Indonesian police made their move. Officers descended on a private studio located in the Pranon area of Bali. What they found inside became the foundation of what would briefly look like one of the most serious criminal cases involving a foreign national in Indonesia in recent memory. Officers seized cameras, mobile phones, USB storage drives, and a range of other materials that were immediately taken into evidence. 4 people were detained on the spot. Tia Billinger herself, 2 British male nationals, 1 Australian male national. An additional 14 men who were present were questioned at length and ultimately released without charge. The international headlines erupted. A British woman facing 15 years in an Indonesian prison. The story spread across every major news outlet in the United Kingdom, Australia, and the United States within hours. Now here, right here, is where this story takes the first of several completely unexpected turns. Because Indonesian police did not simply arrest and charge. They investigated. They went through every single piece of footage on every device they had seized, frame by frame, file by file. And what they found, or more accurately, what they did not find, changed everything. According to investigators, and later confirmed publicly by an official police spokesperson, the footage did not contain nudity. It did not contain genitalia. It did not contain explicit sexual acts that could be proven to have been produced for public commercial distribution. The official statement from police was that when officers conducted the raid, the content being filmed appeared to be a game or competition format, the prize of which would be time spent with the content creator. No pornographic material, by Indonesia's legal definition, was found in the content that had been created. And just like that, the 15-year charge was gone. But do not for 1 second think that she was walking out of that country freely. Because while the morality and pornography investigators were standing down, immigration was stepping forward. Here is something that every international traveler needs to understand. And this is one of the most important legal lessons buried inside this entire case. A tourist visa is not a work visa. It sounds simple. It sounds obvious. But the distinction carries enormous legal weight in virtually every country on Earth. And Indonesia enforces it with particular seriousness. Tia Billinger entered Indonesia on a standard tourist visa. That visa permitted her to be present in the country as a visitor. It did not permit her to work. And driving a branded commercial vehicle through the streets of Bali, filming content for a paid subscription platform, filming content that would generate direct personal income. That is, by every legal definition, work. That is commercial activity conducted on a tourist visa. And Indonesian immigration authorities had all the documentation they needed to prove it. She had posted about it publicly. She had filmed herself doing it. She had announced her commercial intentions before she even landed. The evidence was not buried in a courtroom filing. It was on the internet. Now here is where the story takes another turn. This one almost surreal in its unexpectedness. On the 12th of December, 2025, 1 week after the raid, Tia Billinger and the 3 men arrested alongside her appeared before the Denpasar District Court. And she filmed herself getting ready that morning. She posted the video publicly. She mentioned she wanted to wear a particular item of clothing to the hearing. Her family apparently advised strongly against it. She showed up in court. The judge reviewed the case and issued a fine, not for pornography, Not directly for the visa violation. For a traffic offense. The truck, the Bang bus, had not been properly taxed. It had been illegally repainted without the appropriate authorization. And the person operating it did not hold a valid commercial driving license for the vehicle. The fine handed down by the Denpasar District Court was 200,000 Indonesian rupiah. Let's put that in perspective. 200,000 Indonesian rupiah, converted to United States dollars at the exchange rate at the time of the verdict. 13 US dollars. For a case the entire world had been watching. She paid the fine. She walked out of the courtroom, and she filmed herself doing it. But immigration was not finished. While the court had handled the criminal matter, immigration had its own authority to exercise. And they exercised it fully. Tia Billinger was formally deported from Indonesia, escorted to the airport, put on a plane, and handed a 10-year ban from ever returning to the country. The official Indonesian government statement on her deportation was measured but unambiguous. Her conduct, it said, was inconsistent with the nation's efforts to maintain Bali's image as a destination for quality tourism. Her behavior demonstrated, in the government's words, a lack of respect for local cultural values. 10 years. Banned. Deported. She boarded the flight back to the United Kingdom. And, for approximately 48 hours, the story appeared to be over. If you're still with us right now, and we know you are, hit that like button right now for the Shadow Case Files team. It takes 2 seconds, and it genuinely helps this channel reach more true crime viewers just like you. And if you have not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a case breakdown like this one. Now, back to the story, because this is where everything changes. 48 hours, give or take. That is how long the story of Tia Billinger's Bali ordeal remained a closed chapter. 48 hours after landing back on British soil, according to London's Metropolitan Police, she made a decision. A decision that would take a concluded international incident and transform it into an active UK criminal case. According to police records and multiple verified media reports, on the 15th of December 2025, a woman appeared on Great Peter Street in the Westminster area of London. Great Peter Street, SW1. That address places the location approximately 1 single mile, from Buckingham Palace. It is also the address of the Indonesian Embassy in London. According to authorities, she arrived with a group of men. The men were wearing hoods and masks, their identities deliberately concealed. She was holding the Indonesian national flag, according to reports, pinned to her clothing, trailing on the ground behind her. And then, according to the charge filed by the Metropolitan Police, she allegedly proceeded to mimic a sexual act on a public street, outside the gates of a foreign nation's embassy, while it was filmed and posted online. Her own commentary on the video, published publicly and picked up by international media, was direct. It is about time they came to the embassy so they could watch it in person. The video went viral within hours. Not just in the United Kingdom. Internationally, Indonesia's embassy in London did not ignore it. A formal diplomatic complaint was filed with UK authorities almost immediately. And once that complaint was in the hands of British law enforcement, the Metropolitan Police opened an investigation. Now here is something that speaks directly to how seriously UK authorities treated this matter. They did not move overnight. They did not rush. The alleged incident occurred on the 15th of December, 2025. The Metropolitan Police conducted a thorough investigation. On the 2nd of February, 2026, nearly 7 weeks after the alleged incident, a woman described as being in her 20s was formally interviewed under police caution. An interview under caution in the United Kingdom is a serious and highly formalized legal process. It means the person being interviewed has been warned that anything they say may be used as evidence. It is a significant legal step, not a casual conversation. Following that interview, the case file was referred to the Crown Prosecution Service, the independent body in the United Kingdom responsible for deciding whether criminal charges should be brought. The Crown Prosecution Service reviewed the evidence and authorized the charge. On the 16th of March, 2026, 3 months after the alleged incident, Tia Billinger of Drakot, Derbyshire was formally charged by the Metropolitan Police. The charge: outraging public decency. She was charged via what is known in the UK system as a postal requisition, meaning she was not physically arrested and taken into custody. Instead, the formal charge and the requirement to appear in court was delivered to her by mail. Her mandatory court appearance is set for the 22nd of April, 2026. Westminster Magistrates Court, London. Let that timeline settle for a moment. 13th of November, arrives in Bali. 5th of December, raided by Indonesian police. 12th of December, appears in Denpasar District Court. 12th of December, fined $13. 12th of December, deported, banned for 10 years. 15th of December, allegedly appears outside the Indonesian Embassy in London. 2nd of February, interviewed under caution by Metropolitan Police. 16th of March, formally charged with outraging public decency in the United Kingdom. 22nd of April, due in court at Westminster Magistrates Court, from a $13 fine to a possible 6-month prison sentence. Across 2 countries, in less than 4 months. This is the part of the case that we need to spend real time on, because this charge, outraging public decency, is one that many people have heard referenced, but very few people actually understand in legal terms. So let us break it down properly. Outraging public decency is what is known in the UK legal system as a common law offense. Common law means it is not defined by a single statute or piece of legislation. It has evolved through centuries of court judgments and legal precedent. It is in many ways one of the oldest criminal charges in the English legal system. The Crown Prosecution Service, whose guidelines are publicly available, defines it this way. The offense is committed when a person does in a public place any act that is of a lewd, obscene, or disgusting nature, which outrages minimum standards of public decency as judged by reasonable members of the public. There are several key elements to that definition that matter enormously for this case. First, the act must occur in public. Great Peter Street in Westminster is unambiguously a public street. That element appears to be straightforwardly met based on the location of the alleged incident. Second, the act must be lewd, obscene, or disgusting by the standards of a reasonable member of the public. This is where it gets legally complex, because what constitutes lewd or obscene is not a fixed measurement. It is a judgment call made either by a judge in magistrate's court or by a jury in Crown Court. Third, and this is critical, the act does not have to be a literal sexual act. The charge covers behavior that falls outside standard exposure laws, but still crosses what the court determines to be an unacceptable line. Mimicking a sexual act in public, particularly in the circumstances described, with deliberate filming, deliberate targeting of a specific location, and deliberate public posting of the resulting footage, presents a strong prosecutorial argument that the threshold of this offense has been met. The maximum penalty upon conviction is 6 months in prison, an unlimited financial fine, or both. To fully understand the implications of this charge and what is likely to happen when she appears at Westminster Magistrates Court on the 22nd of April, we need to go deeper into the legal analysis. And for that analysis, we are drawing on the expert commentary of international law attorney David D. Fury, who has followed this case from the beginning and whose insights provide the most grounded legal framework available for understanding where this case is headed. Let's start with the most fundamental question. How serious is this charge? The honest legal answer is serious enough to result in a criminal conviction, but likely not serious enough to result in the maximum sentence. Here's why. This is, by UK criminal record standards, a first offense. She has no prior convictions in the United Kingdom for conduct of this nature. The court will take that into account at the sentencing stage, if it reaches sentencing. Additionally, while the act alleged is deliberately provocative and clearly intentional, there is no specific individual victim of the crime. No single person was physically harmed. The offense, by its very legal definition, is one against public standards rather than against a specific person. Those two factors, first offense status and absence of a direct victim, are significant mitigating considerations that a sentencing judge would weigh carefully against the maximum penalty. The more realistic legal outcome, based on comparable cases in the UK, is a financial penalty, potentially substantial, combined with a community order or a suspended sentence, rather than immediate custodial imprisonment. But that analysis comes with a significant condition. Her behavior between now and the 22nd of April matters enormously. Now, will evidence from the Bali case affect the London charge? This is one of the most frequently asked questions surrounding this case, and the legal answer is both nuanced and important. The Indonesian case, the raid, the deportation, the $13 fine, is not directly admissible as evidence of the London offense. The London charge is a standalone UK criminal matter. It will be adjudicated on UK law. Indonesian court findings have no direct evidentiary standing in a British courtroom. However, the Indonesian case becomes highly relevant in one specific context: intent. Because the question of intent is central to any criminal charge. The prosecution will argue, and this argument has considerable merit, that her decision to allegedly appear outside the Indonesian Embassy in London just 3 days after being deported from Indonesia demonstrates deliberate, calculated intent rather than spontaneous behavior. The timing is not incidental. 3 days. She flew home from Bali. She was deported on the 12th of December. The alleged embassy incident occurred on the 15th of December. 3 days later, the proximity in time between the deportation and the alleged act outside the embassy speaks directly to the question of motive. It suggests, and the prosecution will almost certainly argue, that the alleged act was a direct, intentional response to her treatment in Indonesia. That goes to intent, and intent matters in criminal law. Why did it take so long to charge her? The incident allegedly occurred on the 15th of December. The charge was not filed until the 16th of March, 3 months later. This is not unusual in the UK legal system, and it reflects two things. First, the wheels of justice in the United Kingdom, as in most developed legal systems, move carefully and methodically. An investigation of this nature, involving a diplomatic complaint from a foreign embassy, public footage, interview under caution, and referral to the Crown Prosecution Service, takes time to conduct properly. Second, and this is the element that legal analysts find most interesting, there may have been genuine deliberation at the Crown Prosecution Service level about whether to charge at all. This case is unusual. It involves international diplomatic sensitivities. It involves a public figure with a significant online following. It involves a charge, outraging public decency, that is relatively rarely prosecuted in modern UK courts. The decision to charge appears to have been made deliberately, and the decision to proceed via postal requisition rather than physical arrest suggests that authorities believe she is not a flight risk and intends to comply with court proceedings. What happens at Westminster on the 22nd of April? The first hearing at Westminster Magistrates Court will serve several functions. She will be formally presented with the charge in open court. She will have the opportunity to enter a plea, guilty or not guilty. The court will determine how the case proceeds. If it remains in Magistrates Court, a judge or panel of magistrates would decide the outcome. If the matter is considered sufficiently serious to warrant a higher penalty than Magistrates Court can impose, it may be committed to Crown Court, where a jury would decide. A trial date, if a not guilty plea is entered, will likely be set several months into the future at minimum. Could her passport be seized? Yes. The court has the authority to impose bail conditions at the first hearing that include surrender of her travel documents. Whether this happens will depend on the judge's assessment of the risk that she may fail to appear for future hearings or may commit further offenses. Given the international nature of this case, and the fact that she has significant means to travel internationally, a passport surrender condition is well within the realm of possibility. What if she commits a further act of public indecency while this charge is pending? This is perhaps the most consequential question of all. Any further act of a similar nature while this criminal charge is active would be treated as a separate criminal offense and would be prosecuted separately. But it would also have an immediate and devastating effect on the existing case. It would signal to the court, unambiguously, that she is not remorseful, that she has not modified her behavior, that the charge has not deterred her. And that changes the sentencing conversation from a possible suspended sentence or financial penalty to a much more serious custodial consideration. The court takes a very dim view of defendants who commit similar offenses while awaiting trial for the original charge. It demonstrates contempt for the legal process itself. If that were to happen, the maximum 6 months becomes considerably less theoretical. We want to take a step back from the individual facts of this case for a moment, because underneath the headlines, underneath the viral videos and the diplomatic complaints and the courtroom filings, there is a genuinely important legal and social question at the center of this story. And it is a question that courts around the world are only beginning to grapple with seriously. What happens when someone's entire professional identity, their entire brand, their entire income, their entire public persona is built around the deliberate, systematic pushing of legal and social limits? Traditional criminal law was not designed with this question in mind. The offense of outraging public decency has existed in English common law for centuries. But it was never designed to deal with a situation where the act is simultaneously a potential criminal offense, a piece of commercial content, a diplomatic incident, and a viral social media moment, all at the same time. That intersection is new, and the courts are going to have to figure out how to handle it. Because Tia Billinger is not the first person to build a brand around provocative content, and she will not be the last. The question this case poses to the legal system is not simply, did she commit this specific act? The question is, at what point does provocative public behavior, deliberately filmed for commercial gain, cross the line from protected expression into criminal conduct? And who gets to decide where that line is? In the United Kingdom, the answer, at least in this case, is either a magistrate or a jury. On the 22nd of April, at Westminster Magistrates Court, that process begins. Let's walk through every key date one final time, slowly and clearly, so that the full scope of this case is absolutely clear. Late November 2025, Tia Billinger arrives in Bali, Indonesia on a tourist visa. She has purchased a truck in Bali for approximately $1,200, had it painted blue, and had a name printed on the side indicating its intended use. She publicly announces plans to use the vehicle to create content during Schoolies Week. 5th of December 2025, Indonesian police conduct a raid on a private studio in the Perenang area of Bali. For people, Tia Billinger and 3 male nationals are detained. 14 additional men are questioned and released. Multiple devices and materials are seized. Following the raid, officers conduct a full review of all seized footage. No material meeting Indonesia's legal definition of pornography is found. The most serious potential charges are not pursued. 12th of December 2025, Tia Billinger and the 3 co-detainees appear before the Denpasar District Court. The judge finds them guilty of a traffic violation. The vehicle was untaxed, improperly repainted, and operated without a valid commercial license. The fine issued is 200,000 Indonesian rupiah, equivalent to $13. The fine is paid. Immigration formally deports all parties from Indonesian territory and issues a 10-year reentry ban against Tia Billinger specifically. The official government statement cites conduct inconsistent with Bali's tourism values and a lack of respect for local cultural norms. 15th of December 2025. 3 days after deportation, according to Metropolitan police records, Tia Billinger allegedly appears on Great Peter Street in Westminster, London, outside the Indonesian Embassy, accompanied by a group of men in hoods and masks. She allegedly mimics a sexual act on the public street, while footage is filmed and subsequently posted online. The Indonesian Embassy in London files a formal diplomatic complaint with UK authorities. 2nd of February 2026. A woman described as being in her 20s is formally interviewed under police caution by the Metropolitan Police in connection with the alleged 15th of December incident. The case file is referred to the Crown Prosecution Service. 16th of March 2026. The Crown Prosecution Service authorizes criminal charges. Tia Billinger of Drakot, Derbyshire is formally charged via postal requisition with outraging public decency, a common law criminal offense in the United Kingdom. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 6 months imprisonment, an unlimited fine, or both. 22nd of April 2026. Her mandatory first appearance at Westminster Magistrates Court, London. Here's where we are right now. A 26-year-old British woman who has built a multi-million-pound career on the deliberate, calculated pushing of limits is sitting on a criminal charge in her home country. She escaped 15 years in an Indonesian prison for $13. She was deported from Indonesia and banned for a decade. And according to prosecutors, 3 days later, she walked to the Indonesian Embassy in London and made it impossible for UK authorities to look the other way. The 22nd of April is the next chapter. Westminster Magistrates Court. A plea. A process. And the beginning of what legal experts expect will be a months-long legal proceeding. Shadow case files will be covering every development, every hearing, every legal filing, every update, as this case moves through the UK court system. Because this case, underneath all the noise, is genuinely significant. It asks a question that courts, governments, and societies around the world have not yet fully answered. How far does the law reach? And what happens when someone's entire identity is the answer to that question? We do not have all the answers tonight, but we have every verifiable fact, and we will be here every step of the way as the truth continues to unfold. This has been Shadow Case Files. If this case kept you locked in from beginning to end, and we know it did, here is what we need you to do right now. Hit that like button. Every single like tells YouTube that this content matters and helps us reach more true crime viewers just like you. Leave a comment below and tell us, where in the world are you watching from right now? What time is it over there? And what is your honest take on this case? Do you think she will walk free again, or do you think a UK court will finally hold her accountable? We read every single comment. Every one. And if you are not yet subscribed to Shadow Case Files, Hit that subscribe button right now and ring that notification bell so you're the first to know when we drop the follow-up coverage on the 22nd of April court date. This case is not over. Not even close. And neither are we. Shadow Case Files, where the truth does not stay hidden. We will see you on the next case.